The co-feature, we've got the welterweight title on the line. Tyron Woodley, not the favorite fighter of Dana White. He's facing Kamaru Usman. Woodley a minus 185 favorite. Usman coming back at plus 160. Bottom line is Woodley doesn't fight a lot, but he's going to be a tough out for anybody.
I agree. I think he's being very overlooked. I think Kamaru's very stealthy. I think he's very solid. He's got good wrestling. There's so much that's going into this division right now. Obviously, we can't even mention this fight without talking about the big elephant in the room. The big controversy is it confuses, I think, everybody here at the CRP is that they picked Usman over Covington when the money fight is definitely Woodley versus Covington. And there's, you got Covington basically saying, I want an interim belt. They're not giving me a title fight. I'm going to sue the UFC. And you got Covington talking smack to Usman, and Usman talking smack to Covington, and Usman and Woodley talking smack, and Covington talking smack to Woodley, and then you throw Ben Askren in there, who's going around saying, "Oh, I knew Kamaru Usman back in the day. He was Marty from Nebraska," and and they got into it at the press conference, and there's so much that's tying in to this division right now, and you got this like triangle of contenders at the top, and what was confusing to me is. And I don't know if they just look at this as because when you consider that they don't really seem to like Woodley, do they look at this as a more dangerous fight for Woodley, or do they think he's going to win and then they can just wait for the Covington fight later on this year? They kind of made Covington a good guy in the whole situation. It's really confusing because Covington was definitely Usman, the guys he's beat, Damian Maia, RDA. He's beat them after Covington already beat them, and they still went with Usman, who's a less known name and more of a controversial figure than somebody like Colby Covington. I want to know what your opinion is on it. Why they chose Usman to even get this fight over Covington?
It is a little bit of a mystery from the little bit of press that I've gathered on it. It does look like Woodley had a little something to do with it because Dana always paints Woodley as like, does he want the fight? Does he not want the fight? I also kind of feel, and this is just my feeling, but Covington, he's one of those outspoken guys, and sometimes those guys put their foot in their mouth. If you remember back in the old days, Miguel Torres, he actually got cut from the UFC because of stupid things like that, and they do pretty much have you unlocked with a contract. Maybe he made some type of move or some type of conversation somewhere and pissed some people off, and he decided to say, let him wait. And that's about all I can speculate on that because Covington, to me, and Woodley was the big money fight. Why stay away from that? Usman definitely, could play spoiler in there, and he would be a good fight for any one of the guys coming off of a fight there. But it doesn't make sense because they're usually money chasers, and I think, like you said, Covington Woodley, it's a no-brainer. That was the biggest fight in the division right now.
Yeah, your comment on Covington, regardless of political affiliations, because he is at one point he was probably the most hated MMA fighter in the UFC. Yeah, I mean, and you got this, but at the same time, he was playing the part well, and I do believe a lot of it is an act. But him taking the interim title belt and setting it on Trump's desk and taking the photo op with the interim title belt, and he's going out wearing MAGA hats and he's insulting Brazilians. He's playing that just white trash, just idiot, role to a T. He don't care. He doesn't care. He's looking at it like this is going to get me publicity. It's going to get me fights. They're putting these contenders in front of me. I'm beating them. I don't care. And he's been calling out Woodley for a long time. And one thing I do like about Usman is a good fighter, a very good fighter, and he's had smack with everybody. I mean, Covington, Askren, Woodley, obviously. I mean, he's been out there also just. So you got all these different personalities now at welterweight. This is a very exciting division, and it's a deep top 10. And I was just very surprised they went with Usman first. I thought that they would wait. I thought they would probably make Usman versus Askren for Askren's debut, and then they would make Covington and Woodley. But they shut that down. I mean, and it definitely looks like Woodley, if he can get through Usman, probably has Covington next.
And when you went through Covington's laundry list and getting into politics and stuff, remember the UFC's recent experience with Khabib and Conor, where they sort of lost control of the build-up there, and things got out of control. Covington may have said something, may have crossed the line. Who knows? when you get into politics and stuff, people get crazy, and who knows if they decide to take a little bit of the heat off of that, maybe for the kids' own sake. I don't know, but it's a weird and unique situation where the UFC is not chasing the money on this fight. We're actually maybe getting a better fight. I like the Usman-Woodley matchup.